Lizzie Andrew Borden, 1860 to 1972, was an American woman living with his father and stepmother until the age of 32. She is considered to be the main suspects of the double murders that took place in the year 1893. Andrew Jackson Borden, the father of Lizzie, and Abby Borden, stepmother of Lizzie, were murdered in their own with numerous strikes made by the axe. When the incident occurred, Lizzie's sister, Emma, was not at home, so Lizzie called her neighbor to comfort her for the death of her parents. When the police came in to interrogate, she told that they were having some issues with the property and her father had recently killed her pet pigeons, which made her angry, and her relation with her stepmother was also not so good. After about a week of the incident, the police arrested Lizzie for the murders and taken to court for the trial. But Lizzie was acquitted due to lack of clear evidence. The homicide remains a mystery till today, with the debate on the evidence. Though the murder case is unsolved, a nursery rhyme after Lizzie Borden is still in use mostly by the Americans. Lizzie Borden took an axe and gave her mother 40 whacks. When she saw what she had done, she gave her father 41. Benjamin Nathan, 1813 to 1870, was an American philanthropist, a wealthy stockbroker and an investor who wore diamond studs on his shirts and used to support various charities. He was elected as a member and later became the president of the New York Stock Exchange in 1851, and also served as the director in 9th Avenue Street Railway and Chicago Northwestern Railroad. In the year 1870, when Benjamin was at his Manhattan mansion, someone bludgeoned him to death. He was hit on his skull with an iron bar, which left him bleeding. The tragic murder took place on the night of July 28th to 29th, and the news created chaos amongst the public. The body of Nathan was first found by his 22-year-old son, Washington Nathan, and 26-year-old son, Frederick Nathan, while other members of the family were out to their New Jersey estate. Though several suspects were identified and put under trials, including Washington, his profligate son, none of the suspects was indicted, and the notorious incident remains an unsolved murder till today, even after 150 years. Helen Jewett, 1813 to 1836, born in Temple, Maine, was the daughter of an alcoholic father. She started working as a servant from the age of 12. At the age of 18, Helen developed herself as a sexually assertive woman and later became one of the most famous American prostitutes in New York City and worked under fake names. On April 10, 1836, she was found dead by Rosina Townsend, the matron of a brothel. She had been hit on her head several times by a sharp object, probably a hatchet. It is considered that there was no sign of any struggle, and her bed was put on fire after her death. The police investigation brought 19-year-old Richard Robinson under a trial based on the testimony given by the woman living in the same brothel. Robinson was a regular customer of Helen but denied the killing and showed no response even after he was shown the corpse. After numerous trials and hearings, Robinson has let free due to lack of evidence, and the murder remains unsolved till today. The Gatton murders is about the triple homicide that took place in the town of Gatton, Queensland, Australia. In the Blackfellows Creek lived Murphy family. They had a total of 12 members, including parents and 10 children. Out of all 10, 3 siblings, namely Michael, Nora, and Teresa, were murdered. Michael, Nora, and Teresa went for a Christmas party being held in the Hall of Gatton, but when they reached there, the party was over, and everyone had left already, so the trio decided on returning home. Next morning, the Murphy family realized that the trio had not returned from the party and started looking for them. They found the trio about 2 miles away from Gatton, lying down dead on the grass. Their bodies were on a bloody rug, hands of 2 sisters were tied with handkerchiefs. The investigation had a rough start as there were no notes taken in the first visit to the crime scene. Later their bodies were made for post-mortem, and it revealed that Nora and Teresa had been raped and beaten brutally and Michael had been shot in the head. Despite a series of investigation and a few suspicions, the tragic triple homicide remains an unsolved murder mystery till today. Jack the Ripper, pseudonymous murderer of at least 5 women, all prostitutes, in or near the Whitechapel district of London's East End, between August and November 1888. The case is one of the most famous, unsolved mysteries of English crime. Some dozen murders between 1888 and 1892 have been speculatively attributed to Jack the Ripper, but 5 are considered canonical: Marion Nichols, found August 31st, Annie Chapman, found September 8th, Elizabeth Stride, found September 30th, Catherine Eddowes, found September 30th, and Mary Jane Kelly, found November 9th. All but one of Jack the Ripper's victims were killed while soliciting customers on the street. In each instance the victim's throat was cut, and the body was usually mutilated in a manner indicating that the murderer had at least some knowledge of human anatomy. On one occasion half of a human kidney, which may have been extracted from a murder victim, was mailed to the police. The authorities also received a series of taunting notes from a person calling himself Jack the Ripper and purporting to be the murderer. Strenuous and sometimes curious efforts were made to identify and trap the killer, all to no avail. A great public uproar over the failure to arrest the murderer was raised against the Home Secretary and the London Police Commissioner, who resigned soon afterward. The case has retained its hold on the popular imagination, in part because known instances of serial murder were much rarer at the time than they are today. Jack the Ripper has provided themes for numerous literary and dramatic works. Perhaps the most notable was the horror novel The Lodger, 1913, by Marie Adelaide Lowndes, which inspired numerous films, including Alfred Hitchcock's The Lodger, A Story of the London Fog, 1927. More than 100 books about the case have been published, many of which offer conjectures as to the true identity of the murderer and the circumstances surrounding the crimes, including that the murders were part of an occult or Masonic plot and that the police were covering up for highly placed culprits, perhaps even members of the royal family. The best known of these conspiracy theory works is Alan Moore and Eddie Campbell's award-winning graphic novel From Hell. 1991–96, which was later adapted into a movie, 2001. Many of these books, however, are based on fraudulent claims and documents. The most commonly cited suspects are Montague Druitt, a barrister and teacher with an interest in surgery who was said to be insane and who disappeared after the final murders and was later found dead; Michael Ostrog, a Russian criminal and physician who had been placed in an asylum because of his homicidal tendencies; and Aaron Kosminski, a Polish Jew and a resident of Whitechapel who was known to have a great animus toward women, particularly prostitutes, and who was hospitalized in an asylum several months after the last murder. Several notable Londoners of the era, such as the painter Walter Sickert and the physician Sir William Gull, also have been subjects of such speculation. The murder sites have become the locus of a macabre tourist industry in London.